What a Monday. And as we always start out, Big Sills. What a great sports weekend. Masters, watched a ton of that. We're 10 days out to the National Football League draft. Amazing. Amazing time of the year. Let's see what people are stirring up here. By the way, welcome in. Dan, I thought the Eagles would never pay $25 million for two receivers. You're not. Yet. You're not. Yet. You're not. Yet. Don't get ahead of yourselves. Don't get ahead of yourselves. Here we go. I'll put this statement out there, and I'll continue to say this about the Philadelphia Eagles. They're the best contract and cap management team in the league. I don't believe that there's a better football team in the NFL that does a better job with contract structuring, making new templates on how to pay people, and also the cap management. It's pretty incredible. And I do believe they're the best in the National Football League at doing that. Okay? I mean, just listen to the deal in this template. Huge news, obviously, today by the Birds. And a great structure on a new contract for wide receiver DeVonta Smith. And on top of that, they maneuvered in the fifth-year option, which is kind of unprecedented. And how you combine the two. Most organizations I've never seen, it's one or the other. And they have manipulated his salary so that this is a team-friendly contract for the organization and for him. And by the way, it also speaks loudly to some of what you guys have been saying, that does he want to play in Philly? This is clearly getting ahead of the market. And that answer is yes. He likes being a Philadelphia Eagle. Or you don't take that deal. I can't think his agent was particularly happy about signing this prior to these other guys like Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb and Jefferson getting out there. Now, I'll make the comment to you. We haven't seen the nuts and bolts of what the cap hits are, but I have to imagine that there's a ton of the money up front, and the way that it's been structured, it's pretty insane. And here's how it reads. He's not making $25 million this year. He's making $6.4. So when you say they got two $25 million wide receivers, you're talking about the life of the option and the extension. That doesn't kick in for 3 years. Okay, so he's not being paid that. $6.4 million in 2024. And in 25, the fifth-year option is $15.5. Think about what you're doing here. These next 2 years, you're basically getting a guy under market value that if he was to go out in the open market would be a $25 million a year guy. So the first 2 years is great. And then from 26 to 28, that's when the 3 years, $75 million and the guaranteed of $51 million kick in. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think that $51 million starts getting appropriated this year. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think the $51 million kicks in 26, the guarantees. I think they could spread that out over the next 5 years, so they may be starting that this year. We have to wait and see how the nuts and bolts look at this. So over 5 years, it's $96.9 million at an annual salary of $19.4. Totally a brilliant contract by the general manager and his team. when it comes to putting this together here. Have to wait and see what the cap hits are, but really, anytime that they have put contracts together, the Eagles, the one thing that has been also part of what makes that and Howie and his people really great at what they do when it comes to contracts and cap management is really that cap. So at the end of the day, DeVonta wanted to be an Eagle. The Eagles wanted him, and they really did do a good job. You got to give it to the agent and DeVonta for agreeing to this. I would put it out there that he's probably left on the market at least $20 million. But that $20 million to him is peace of mind. So, to me, again, and here's where, if I'm not mistaken, it puts him in this category. Tyreek Hill makes $30 million. Davante Adams, 28. Cooper Kupp, 26.7. AJ, 25. And now you have, with the total overlook of the contract, 25, you have DeVonta, and Metcalf makes $24 million. So, at the end of the day, it's well constructed. And it's not a shocker because this is what he does and this is who he is. His librarians did a great job. The accountants were hitting on all cylinders with this contract. That's a great deal. There's really nothing that you can look at. Now, you've got to look at the overall part of the team. Does this make you better? No, it makes you the same. You haven't done anything but lock up a player that you covet and want on the team. You're not better than you were a year ago. The problem that you have is you've extended guys that are currently on your team on the offensive side of the football outside of Josh Sweat, and you still haven't addressed the other side of the football. It's clear the Philadelphia Eagles are looking at one thing here, one side of the ball, and they think they're going to win on that side of the ball. And they're not going to really put too much emphasis in the defensive side, even though that was a critical collapse last year. They haven't addressed the collapse in any way, shape, or form. Maybe with Gardner Johnson. Other than that, they haven't. You're going to have to rely, and you now officially, what is it? You've got $96 million tied up in 3 players. Okay. A lot of pressure. More pressure. Personally, you don't win now. I'm firing Jalen Hurts at the end of the 2024 season. And I'm getting someone in here that can take that talent to a Super Bowl win. If he doesn't turn his career around, I'm firing him. And I think you should expect that. There's no development now. You know, the only unsure thing in that entire huddle now is Jalen Hurts. It is. AJ's a great player. DeVonta's a great player. Mulata's a great player. Dickerson's a great player. Lane's a great player. A lot of you like Saquon. The only guy that's not is him. Great players play great every year and every game. So, here's our problem. One side of the ball, you believe that Vic Fangio is Merlin the magician with the trash cans that you've given him. And on the other hand, you have Kellen Moore, who for the first time has more talent around him than any time in his career. What problem would you rather deal with? Or maybe better yet, who has the bigger task? Getting the football in all those hands? Or trying to figure out what you have on defense, because you still don't know what you have on defense. One thing else about this DeVonta thing that I have to go back and say, this is why this is a really great contract and a great day for the Eagles and for DeVonta Smith. You're reinvesting in a draft pick that is hit, and it's a first rounder. And this is the equity that you get with him still being on a rookie contract at $6.4 million. You see the equity of the deal? You get the next 2 years with the option and the rookie contract, and you extended him, and you reinvested in a draft pick that you developed. That's a grand slam. That's a grand slam. Okay? It's a grand slam. There's no question. Okay? No question. That's a grand look at the extensions that you did. You extended Mulata, developed him, drafted him in the 7th round, grand slam. Landon Dickerson's a 2nd-round pick. You made him the highest paid guard in the National Football League. You developed him. You restructured him. It's fantastic. Okay? You now have you did the same thing basically to Josh Sweat. You drafted him, 4th round, developed him, and you reworked this contract. Those are the type of deals that are phenomenal for organizations. The Band-Aid signings like Devin White and some of these other bums, that's the stuff that kills you. And if you have too many of those, no matter what you do with DeVonta Smith, at the end of the day, are you better? The Eagles aren't better today. It gives them a chance to be better for a longer period of time with DeVonta and signing players like that, but you're no better than you were at the last game of the season. You've got the same personnel. You're still not better. And listen, signing a player like DeVonta and giving him a contract extension and picking up the option, he was just as accountable, along with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, for the collapse as anybody else in that huddle. They all collapsed. Are you better? I don't know. I mean, are you better? Where would you think you're better? Because you gave a guy more money? And he was involved in that complete collapse as well? That's right. You signed your good players. Ultra, you signed your good players because that's an indictment on how well you've done by developing and signing your own guys. When you start signing other people's guys, that's when you fall in trouble. That's when you get in trouble, is when you start signing other people's guys. Okay, last week, this guy said there's no way to pay DeVonta. Now, what do you say? Well, they came up with a way on they're not paying him for 3 more years. And not a chance in hell A.J. Brown will be on this team in 26. 0. They gave themselves leeway. I stand still by it. He's making $6.4 million this year. Next year, he makes $15.5. Then in 26, he gets bumped up to 25. Quite frankly, they're not paying $25 million for both guys. Nice try, kid. Go back to the computer and call me back when you get here. They're not paying 2 guys $25 million this year. They're not doing that for 3 years. 3 years they're not doing that. 3 years. About the time you end up getting that Hassan Reddick pick that you made with the Jets. Sills, what are you honestly going to say if Hurts has an excellent season? Marcus, Congratulations for doing your job. My God Almighty, how much more do you want in your huddle? It's pretty fail-safe right now, don't you think? I'll make a proclamation now. A.J. Brown ain't on this team in 26. No way. No way. You know why? They'll run him out of town the same way they ran Reddick out of town. They'll just move the money over to Bryce Huff. Okay? They'll just move him. We haven't invested in our drafted D players in 12 years outside of Cox. Correct, Anthony. That's the problem. Anthony, get this. You're not better today because you gave DeVonta his money. You're not better. Where are you better? You had the same wide receivers a year ago. And you still had a nuclear meltdown. I mean, you're not better. You're not. Eagles at least try hard to be negative at this moment. Prince, I think I've been very to the point on how great the contract was structured. This is what that guy does. He blows that loud when it comes to drafting, especially defensive players. That's not going to change. You're not better on defense. You have not upgraded anywhere. Anywhere. I mean, nowhere have you upgraded. Now, again, it's exciting that you've extended a player that you've had for the last 3 years. This is not an addition. He's not playing corner for you. Howie will be aggressive in the draft and trades, also taking note of next year's free agent class. Slay and Bradbury will be off the books. Smart financial moves. Inferno. Okay, well, what about this year's defense? Dan Sileo, name another player of the Eagles. Always, Dan Sileo, name another player the Eagles have to pay in the future, with the exception of Jalen Carter. Nobody. They don't have to pay anybody on that defense. There's nobody that's retainable. And Jordan Davis hasn't earned a second contract yet. Think about that. The only player on that defense that you have that's worth a second contract is Jalen Carter. You're not thinking of extending anybody on defense because you don't have talent there. You don't have talent. You don't. Got a $50 million quarterback and two $25 million wide receivers. In the next 4 years, do you think this football team wins a Super Bowl not addressing your defense, but only solely addressing your offense? Yes or no? You think that's a Super Bowl team right now? Is that a Super Bowl team? That's right. Here's Xander. Super Bowl or bust. Get to work, Jalen. Do you believe that's a Super Bowl team having not addressed the defense? You haven't addressed it. So this guy thinks giving DeVonta his money. Where was DeVonta last year? Hey, man, where was DeVonta last year in the last 7 games? Where was AJ? So stop gripping about everything. You're losing credibility. You're losing your credibility by not seeing the full picture. You know what that is? You didn't get better today. Signing your players. You want to hear this? Signing your players? Well, congratulations. That's what's called being a GM. Drafting good players, signing your good players, and giving them extensions. You want to give a guy a pat on the back for not fucking it up like he did with Jalen Reagor? Okay. Congratulations for doing your job. You're making it sound like this is some epiphany or something. It is for him, because you want to know why? It's the first contract that guy has signed, Yale, for a wide receiver since he's been in charge of the draft. He should be throwing rainbows and butterflies, because every other guy he's drafted has failed. Nobody has said anything negative about the contract. I'm asking you, get this, me asking you a question. Do you think in the next 4 years, with the complete roster that you have, what's the difference from what was the last day of the regular season for the Eagles last year? What was it, like December something or January, a little bit after January? Are you better right now than you were after the Giant game? It'll be upgraded with what? Cast-offs again? Eagles have brought in plenty of defensive free agents before. Hargrave, Slay, Reddick, currently locking up the offense before the defense is the priority. Dude, the defense should have been the number one priority. I didn't know you had issues on offense. Look again, Landon Dickerson, making him the highest paid guard. Fabulous. Restructuring Mulata. Great. This is what I said to you again. They're the best contract and cap management team in the league. They're the worst at drafting defensive football players. They're the worst. You have one thing that they do, two things actually, that they do exceptionally well. And quite frankly, the evaluation of the quarterback position is sketchy at best. Sketchy. You signed one guy who was a complete failure in the end, and you got another guy who's had 3 bumpy rides. Well, 2 bumpy rides in 1 good year. I speak reality. This is what it is. Okay? Sill's wrong again? Why? You're not paying him $25 million for 3 years. Okay? You're still not paying the guy. And by the way, 3 years, not a chance A.J. Brown's on the team. I'll stick to that. One more time, you will not have 2 $25 million wide receivers on your football team. As of today, you don't. You will. Maybe. Maybe. You don't have 2 $25 million wideouts right now for 3 years. Am I wrong? Am I reading this wrong? The structure of the contract, 6.4 this year, 15.5 the 50-year option at 25, and that thing at 26 kicks in. That's 3 years from now. You don't have 2 $25 million guys. As much as you want to think you do, you don't. See that? It's not Jalen's contract, senor. This is DeVonta's contract. 6.4, 15.5, and then 26 to 28 is when he gets the $75 million 3-year extension. So quite frankly, this year he makes less than $7 million. So you can have both your guys. Last week you said DeVonta would be traded. No, I said, should you trade him? And would you trade him? Yeah, I did say that. Again, LJ, we'll see how your hamburger head AJ Brown deals with this too. Not being the top dog in the building. I can't wait to see that dynamic. I think that guy's going to have a meltdown. Nuclear. You keep saying Jalen Hurts is a $50 million. He is a $50 million. 4 years, $255 is $50 million a year. You're talking about the cap hits. I'm talking about the owner out of his pocket paying a guy $50 million, and he's not a $50 million quarterback. Now, once again, let's get back to the reality question. Are you better today? How you doing, Q? Thanks for the super chat. Are you better today than you were as soon as the Buccaneer game was over? Are you better? This draft will say a lot about how the Eagles feel about A.J. Brown. Can see them grabbing a receiver in the second round and try to deal him next year. It's either going to be next year or the year after. He won't be on that team at 26, A.J. Brown. We're not paying $25 million for two guys. Right now, they're not. And they have the affordability of not having to. Because, like I said, the one thing they do, two things they do great. Contracts and cap management. Best in the league at what they do with that. Clearly. Okay. How many are they better now? Where are you better? Where are you better right now on defense? Where are you better? Hey, Sales, let's see you put a team together. I'll put money that you'll suck as a general manager. Well, what I would do again is I would build my football team like the Eagles and the Niners do. When I have lesser talented quarterbacks, you have to put a ton of people around them. And when I have more experience and really highly gifted athletic quarterbacks, I don't. Nobody in Kansas City's doing this shit. Extending wide receivers, and nobody's doing that in places that have legitimate quarterbacks. Nobody's doing that. You're the only ones, along with San Francisco. It's funny. That's why you guys have lost the last two, because you don't have top flight quarterbacks. If you have a top flight quarterbacks don't need two $25 million wideouts. By the way, isn't he, I don't know, T. Higgins? Last 3 years, Yale. Tell me this, Yale. Last 3 years. Here's the numbers. Would we not agree that Higgins is a number 2? Right? He's a number 2. And Cincy. Well, T. Higgins, 4.4 receptions for 63.5 a game. And Smitty, 4.8 catches a game at 63.6. They're the same guy. Okay? So you signed T. Higgins, who I happen to think is a really good player. They have the same numbers. Over the last 3 years, they got the same numbers. Same numbers. And actually, Higgins has a better quarterback. Signing Smitty doesn't make the defense better. We get it, way to point out the obvious and challenge people to say different. No, what you have to have a conversation on is that what they did today was something that you don't get pats on the back for. Now, I'll tell you what you do get pats on the back for is the manipulating of the fifth-year option. I've never seen that. I've never seen you combine the fifth-year option and the extension, because you know why? Traditionally, agents and players don't want both. It tells you a lot about DeVonta Smith, that he wants to be here and he wants to be an Eagle. I think it tells you a lot about the player. Okay? That's right, Yale. Howie Roseman did exactly what he was supposed to do. This is not an epiphany or something. Signing your own players, you don't get pats on the back for that. But what you do get pats on the back for is the structuring of the contracts, which once again, they're the best in the league at contracts and cap manipulation. They do a spectacular job at that. Okay? Paul, Dano, Smitty's contract doesn't begin in 26. He'll play under the 5th-year option, so there's no big jump for 2 seasons. Correct, Paul. There's no there's not two $25 million wide receivers on this ball club yet. And there never will be. Okay? And there never will be. Sills, it is hard to comprehend that Smitty gave up millions to stay in Philly. He did, though. I know we joked about how the complex is rated, but maybe that stuff is just as important as other factors. Also, too, Bob, I think that Howie getting him right after the Rager disaster, that people now, thank you, Nello, I appreciate you coming aboard. I think that also plays into it. You'd like to finish where you started. I do believe that that played into it. And I think he's a loyal guy. When you don't draft well, you have to be great at the cap to be competent to sign outside free agents. Correct. Ultra. And that's always a gamble, signing someone else's players or someone else's mistakes. Okay? $50 million is a life-changing money, immediate wire transfer. Hey, Yale, I don't know that 51 guaranteed. I think it's probably prorated out over the 5 years. That's what I'm assuming. We have to wait and see how they're going to spread this out. Sills, I don't think competent coaches, which we don't have, could have any significance on their performance. Well, again, you signed DeVonta Smith. You're not better today. It's something you're supposed to do. This is part of being a GM as well. Like, again, this is not to rain on anybody's parade. It's a reward for a player that they got right. Okay. What am I missing? Congratulations. You didn't F the draft pickup? Okay. Why are you making it sound like this is some sort of like massive historic thing when it's not? You sign a player, you drafted him, you developed him. I'm missing it. This is what your job is. This is what your job description is. Again, what makes this crazy great is how they put that 5th-year option, and the player agreed to the extension. Before Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb signed the contract, that's both parties working hand in hand with one another and wanting to get the yes. You see, the Eagles didn't want to get the yes with Reddick, obviously. They didn't want to get the yes. It gave you something else to talk about for a second besides the usual no defense. Jalen Hurts. Quest. I don't think Jalen Hurts is off the hook at all. I think he's more on the hook. If this guy sucks again, I saw a guy actually on social media say, well, really only 8 of those INTs were. Dude, shut up. He sucked. Now you have no excuses to suck. None. Zero. There's no failure here. You have no margin for failure. None. You will get nothing. And it will be even more of a ton of bricks falling down on you if you fail this year. Because nobody in the league has that kind of huddle, especially when it comes to money. Nobody. He has the richest offensive personnel in the league. Better win, kid. No excuses. Not even Carson Wentz had that. Supposedly, he wanted to be an Eagle for life. If anything, he helped us out more than anything. He surely did, Furman. Okay, he surely did. He wanted to win and be compensated well enough. Can I tell you what it reminds me of? Tell me if you guys go down to this. I personally look at this deal and how DeVonta Smith signed this contract and how he worked this contract. It reminds me of what Cooper Kupp did in Los Angeles. Kupp could have got, after that season, historic year, and, after that historic year, he could have went on the open market and he could have got $35 million. $30 million. He would have been higher paid than what Tyreek Hill was. But he liked being around Sean McVay. He liked the Ram organization and Kevin Demoff and Les Snead. He liked being around that. He said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to take the market value. I'm going to take the comfort value. I'm comfortable being here. How much is it worth peace of mind? And he put a number on it. The Rams came to a number, and the Rams cut a deal with Cooper Kupp. To me, I completely think that's exactly what DeVonta did. What is it, and what's the number for me for peace of mind? Okay, what's the number for peace of mind? They came to an agreement. They all signed off on it. And it's more important for him to have everything. Look at Justin Jefferson's situation. Okay, look at this. Look at, how about this, Yale? Check this out. Look at what the position Justin Jefferson's in. Do you take the bag of money in Minnesota, or do you take peace of mind and go somewhere else and sign a contract so that it gives you a chance to win? You're not going to win in Minnesota. You're just not going to win. You don't even know who your quarterback is. And we're talking April. No ego. Let's just win the damn chip culture. Furman, I got to tell you, that culture, the last part of that, it wobbles for me, the culture. Prince is right. We need defense to do that. You don't have a defense. You're not better today. What you did do was, personally, I don't know how teams don't take that template that the Philadelphia Eagles put out there. And I don't know how teams aren't using it on their quarterback. And I don't know how they're not using that DeVonta Smith with rookie contracts. I didn't know you could put the 5th-year option into an extension. You pick the option up and you put the extension on the back end of it. I've never seen that. It's actually spectacular. Christian, Big Sills, you're 100% correct. They gave Jalen all the ammunition, top-notch ammunition to win. If this offense can't beat you by the air, they must beat you by the ground or vice versa. No excuses. There is no excuses. There's zero excuses. This is a Super Bowl and personally, I don't believe it's a Super Bowl team because I don't think you're good enough on defense. Now, here's what could happen. It is. It's a great business move. Here's what I would say. Now, if you run the ball and you get those 14-play drives back and you keep the time of possession on your side, you may be able to control the game with your offense. You can't shit the bed like you did last year down the stretch. We have upgraded the coaching staff. You don't know you've upgraded the coaching staff so far, but without the defense. But what about the defense, Howie? Prince, let me take that back, Prince. You have upgraded it with more knowledge and more experience. You have. That's not fair. Even though I think that, look at here. We're going to talk about both sides of the ball here now. What challenges both coordinators have. Okay? That's correct, right? Put Anthony's up there. This will be a 7-win team if that happens. Correct. If Jalen Hurts throws the ball 40 times, you're 9-8 at tops. Tops. Again, that contract doesn't add wins. A top flight linebacker or a corner, he adds. Hey, watch this. Signing DeVonta Smith or trading for Patrick Surtain, what would have given you more wins? The trading of Patrick Surtain, not the contract extension. Again, I think they're two different things. Is the contract design and template great? No, it's spectacular. Does it help you win? I don't know, because last year you struggled to win. Does it secure a position for the future? Yes, it does. Important. Totally important. Totally. Does it make your quarterback better? Well, you're signing the same pieces around him. You're hoping. Sills, at this point, how much do you think Justin Simmons would help our D? Immensely. Because right now, Jordan Davis is not cutting it. He's just not cutting it. Actually, if you were to really think about it, he hasn't lived up to his draft pick. Okay? He has not. People about to go nuts when Howie drafts offensive tackle at 22. Hey, Corey, if they draft an offensive football player at 22, you won 7 games this year. I don't believe they're going to do that now. I think they're going edge there. Or trading down. Or trading down to get more draft picks. And get this, and then taking a lineman in the second round? Yeah. Why hasn't Howie signed him? Vic may be down on him. Justin Simmons? Probably. And they don't want to sign an old guy because it's old guy, more money. Yeah, I like the kid Jared Verse too, but I don't believe he's going to be down there that deep. Trade up, find a way to get Verse. Again, I like Chop. Sills, what would you package be for Surtain? A 1 and a 2. Or a 2. How many 2s do they have? They got 2 2s. I might give you a 2 and a 4. I'm predicting the Eagles package 22 overall and go get Surtain or a player like him. Yeah. I think he's still got that ability. And plus, get this. DeVonta Smith's contract doesn't cost you anything for 3 years. You know, all the excitement about the contract, the exciting thing is it doesn't cost you anything for 3 years. That is what you're talking about. Sills, how much of an overpay is that DeVonta deal? I think it's underpay. I think it's a steal for the Eagles. Overpay? Do I think he's a 1? Do I think he's Devontae Adams or DK Metcalf? I don't. However, you put him in a position with a Joe Burrow, he'll put 1 numbers up, like CeeDee Lamb will. Okay? To me, Devontae, it depends on the quarterback. And remember something, if you had a guy who could throw the ball for 4,500 yards, both those receivers would be in the 1,500 catch radius. But they're not, both of them. One of them is. Because they get all the massive targets. I mean, Lamb would never have those numbers in an Eagle offense because they spread the ball more so than they do in Dallas. He's CeeDee Lamb, Sills. I'd rather have Devontae than Lamb, be quite honest. Remember something, he's getting those numbers as a 2. So I think DeVonta Smith is better than CeeDee Lamb. I think Lamb's a good player, but I think he's better. I go power over speed at DE. Now, teams getting the ball out too quickly. True. That's a true statement. Negates the speed advantage. It does. It's Seals, if the Broncos asked for AJ straight up for Surtain, would you do that? Yeah. Yeah, I would. Surtain's on a fifth-year option. The Broncos did that. Okay? I don't know if it would be. Yeah, well, he's 26, so he ain't that old. If you did something like that, the Eagles would go from, I think, 7-win defense. I think you'd go to 13 wins. You had Patrick Surtain and an edge rusher, and you draft a linebacker in the second. You'll be a 13-win team. You're a corner, linebacker, and edge away from a 13-win team. Right now, you're 7-10 and a one-round football team. It's not because you don't have massive talent on offense. It's because you have no talent on defense. Okay? Think about that, Yale. Yale, you put Surtain, draft an edge rusher, and get a linebacker like that kid Edrin Cooper, or you get the kid Wilson, NC State, even Colson from Michigan. Ty goes like this, we're a 12-win team now. What'd that get you? You were an 11-win team last year, and you got the shit kicked out of you by the Bucs. You got to have a playoff football team, and you don't. You had 11 wins last year, and you weren't out a playoff team. You didn't play like one. You've got to make plays in the second. You got to make plays in the postseason. You made no plays. You couldn't even score 9 points, actually. Better coaching? You hear that? Better coaching. And nothing on the shit play from the quarterback, right? Give me a break, guy. So what am I paying the guy for? To sit around there, take orders from a bozo? Is that what you're saying? You have no leadership at that quarterback position if you're listening to somebody leading you down a well that there's no water in. Why in the world would I do that? Why? Because you suck, I should suck? You should man up and be a leader. I'm not doing that. We're doing something else. Act like a leader instead of a follower. All you're doing is following your transactions to your bank account. Hey, my coach sucks, so I will. Congratulations to you, kid. Way to go, Ty. So if you suck, I suck, right? Is that how that works? Why don't you try acting like a fucking leader, guy? Okay, how many people think that guy was worth $50 million last year, especially the last part of the season? He looked like a $5 guy. That guy couldn't play in the UFL the last 7. Talk to me like that. That's right. Baker Mayfield. Hey, Ty, Baker Mayfield not only outplayed him in that game, he outplayed him all year. If Hurts isn't the quarterback, what should we do in 25? Hey, Khalid, think about this. If he bombs, which I'm thinking he is, you got a ready-made football team. And you can attract anybody in there. Every quarterback in the National Football League would want to play in Philly with that high-powered talent you have in offense. Okay? Hey, Sam, you're probably right about putting too many expectations on a young linebacker to come in and make an impact. Well, that's what they're counting on. They're counting on Vic Fangio and rookies and free agents on defense. Offense, done a nice job at signing your guys. Welcome to being a GM. Again, what's made this exceptional is the template they put together for both the quarterback and the receiver. It is really great. Okay? I would trade a 22nd pick for Patrick Surtain. Sign Justin Simmons and draft an edge rusher. Prince, here's the problem. You see, Denver doesn't have a quarterback either. And where are they picking? Okay, Denver's at 12. Here's what I would do if I were Denver. I would trade Patrick Surtain to the Eagles for their 22nd. I would take the 22nd pick, and I would take the 12th pick, and I would move up to New England's spot at number 3 because they need a quarterback. Or AJ, and you're hoping you get a quarterback at 12. Sean Payton, it doesn't have 3 years to turn that Denver Bronco thing. He's making $22 million a year. They gave up first-round picks for both Wilson and him. Okay? So Denver could potentially move up to 2. If you gave Washington, think about this. If you gave Washington the 12th pick and the 22nd pick in the first round to move up to 2, you might have to do maybe one more, a later pick in the 4th. You get Jaden Daniels, who I know Sean loves. Okay? They need a You're not going to win. Here's what Ty says. What's the point of okay, Ty, what's the point of having Patrick Surtain on your football team when you can't score any points? What's the point? And then when his 5th-year option is up next year, you're going to pay a guy $25 million when you haven't figured out the quarterback position? Are you trying to get next year's number 1 overall pick to get Shedeur Sanders because Shedeur Sanders plays in Colorado? And he's the starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos? Hell of a PR move. Hell of a PR move. Okay? We get to be next to your dad? Okay, so you're going to take Bo Nix at 12? Why? He's a bust. Do you know why Bo Nix looked so good in college? He was 4 years older than everyone. Do you want to hear this? I think Bo Nix is the same age as Jalen Hurts. Aren't they both 24, 25? Shit, man. What's his name? Who's the quarter? CJ Stroud's younger. CJ Stroud is younger. I think even Trevor Lawrence is younger. Prime says only Philly and a couple other teams. Shedeur Sanders is not going to play in Philly because I don't think the Eagles are going to suck that bad. Let's see. Penix. Days I like him, days I don't. Okay? Drop down in the draft, get more picks for 25, get Sanders quarterback. Dad comes with him as the new head coach. The last 2 years, we've drafted dudes who can sit and learn. We need someone who will play day one. Bennett versus Chop, Latu, Wiggins. From what I understand, I think, isn't Latu in town today? This kid we take has to play. And Anthony has to be an impact. Travis Hunter's the best player in the draft next year. The best player in the draft. Best player in the draft. He'd be the best player in this draft. He's exceptional. He's exceptional. One of the best pure athletes I've seen since Deion Sanders, Rod Woodson, like those kind of guys. And also, he's a savant like Ed Reed. He's all of those guys. He's like Ed Reed and Dion. Athleticism off the charts. Can't believe, and I'm happy he did start his career at an HBCU school. I loved those schools and the history of those schools. He was supposed to be earmarked for Florida State, but Norvell got the job over Dion, and that's why he went to HBCU. Plus, they got him a $2 million deal with all the nil stuff. And that's how he ended up at Jacksonville State. He's exceptional talent. One of the very few guys that you go like this. I don't believe that there'll be a player in the draft next year that will supersede his skill set. He'll be the number one player taken. There's just no, unless he gets injured, there's just not a chance he's not the number one overall selection. He'd go right now. He's, you have somebody special when they can go like in the next two drafts and they'd be the number one overall selection. I thought Will Anderson was that kind of player too. Turned out to be right. He was the defensive rookie of the year. I said, that's a game changer. It's the best player Saban's ever coached defensively, is that guy. Anderson is going to be a special, like Cornelius Biscuit kind of guy, 8-time Pro Bowler, numerous all-pro teams, put his hand in the dirt, stand up. Will Anderson's a special player. I think Carter's going to be special too. I do. Okay. Sills, do you think Dion would be a good NFL head coach? You know, it's sometimes those guys that are those spectacular players and people, you've got to have patience. And those guys don't really have. The only guy I ever thought really did a really great job at it was Larry Bird when he was with the Pacers. You know, you don't really see any great quarterbacks as, name me the greatest coach that was a quarterback that was one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Can you? Let's see. Unitas never was a coach. Bradshaw was never a coach. Montana was never a coach. Elway was never a coach. Aikman was never a coach. Brady will never coach. I mean, those are the greatest players. Favre will never coach. Those are the greatest players at quarterback that we've ever had in this league. And not one of them ever elevated to being a head coach. Why? Because I don't think they can have the patience for it. Peyton Manning won't coach. He wants to get into ownership. Travis Hunter is spectacular. Well, very few times do you look at a guy and go, holy shit. I think Dion likes coaching young men, helping them become adults. Dealing with NFL dudes is way different. Yeah, because they get paid. And quite frankly, they're harder to coach. You know why? Once a veteran guy is set in his ways, why do you think the veteran guys on the football team don't want a new head coach? Because they don't want to have to reprove themselves and their equity in the locker room with a new coach. Nobody likes to have a new guy rolling in there on them because you never know where you stand. That's why when you had Parcells, you had Parcell guys. And he always hired Parcell guys. Okay, because communicating. If Hurts fails this year, he's done. Absolutely. There's no, hey, here's something you have to realize with Jalen Hurts. The pressure now, for Hurts is this. You have no leeway. You have no excuses on shitty coaches. And get this, you're all putting this on. You think Kellen Moore is an upgrade. You believe that all the extensions and work that they've done on offense has been spectacular. Okay. Now you've given him no off-ramp. I would make the point to you, he's got more pressure than Wentz ever had. If this guy fails, and get this, it could go either way. Why? Look at his career. Look at his career. Talk about what he's done and who he is. Individually first, not as a unit. How has he done? Let's do this here. I'd like to hear Xander first here. Xander, what letter grade over the 3 years would you give Jalen Hurts as a starting quarterback for the Eagles? Says a B. B. C plus. B. I agree. Yeah. B. 2021 C, 2022 A, 2023 C plus. Yeah, that's how I look at that. He was very common in 21, A in 22, and C plus to C in 23 with all the turnovers. Love you, Sills, but Lamb is far better than DeVonta. How do you know that? DeVonta's never been in a number one role ever. Outside of his rookie year, maybe. How do you know that? You know what I'm saying? I mean, we've never seen DeVonta in a number one role yet. Sills, Washington needs a quarterback too. 12 and 22 won't work. I'll send 22 and Pickett 2 years left on rookie deal for Surtain and the 79th and 3rd round. Pickett will compete for the number. So you're going to send him Pickett. Kenny Pickett to Sean Payton. I don't think that's going to rattle the front office enough. Kenny Pickett and draft picks. 12 and 22 won't work. I'll send 22 and Pickett. That's not going to work for me. They would get 12 and 22, though. And Pickett? I don't know, man. That's not going to cut it for him. I think he wants to draft his own guy. He doesn't want to. Pickett would be on his third team. In 2 years, I don't think that's working for me. Okay? Denver has nobody right now at the quarterback position. You've got a corner that the Eagles and the 49ers made a call in November. It's well documented that the Denver Broncos were entertaining phone calls in November. So when someone goes like this, they're not trading him. Hurts 3-year starter, 3 playoffs. So what? I can name you a bunch of guys that have done that. I mean, Tua's done that. I mean, Mark Sanchez did that. Okay? Hey, Will, there'll never, ever be anyone with me as long as I do this or I'm done. You think I'm going to have somebody like you drag my ass down? Haven't for 35 years? Never happened. Never happened. I don't do partner radio or partner broadcasting. It don't work for me. Only one guy I did it with that I liked. His name was Rod Brooks. It was called Ebony and Ivory. Too far ahead of everyone's time in San Francisco. It was too racial. They couldn't handle it. Okay? Way too far ahead of its time. Okay? Hey, Will, I got you, brother. Maniac, what's up? Now, wait a minute. Kevin, Sills and Angelo. Okay, I'm in. Hey, yeah. Sills and Angelo. Sills and Seth. Hey, man, I'll take that too. I'm with that. I like that too. Sills, this is our problem. We have two cornerbacks who are already getting paid big bucks and underperforming at 3 interceptions with guys who are combined making $28 million. I just feel like the Eagles aren't willing to trade and sit guys who are getting paid too much. What do you think? Because they don't have any options back there yet. You're not deep at corner. I know you guys like Keely Ringo and these guys. They're not ready. They're not ready to cover wide receivers in this league. Dude, the wide receiver position, I'll say this to you. The wide receiver position, why do you think it's gotten better? Okay? Why do you think the wide receiver position has gotten better? What do you think? Why do you think the wide receiver position's gotten better? Rule changes? A lot to do with it. Okay? These guys don't get hit. They don't get hit anymore. Boy, if I could play a position in the NFL where I don't get hit as much as I used to and make more money, that's a position you covet. That's a position you want to be part of. That's why there's no running backs making big money anymore. What's up, big guy? I'm here. Like Arnold. Hey, Swaggy goes, I'm here. In all actuality, I wouldn't be bringing you down. I'd be elevating your ass. Thank you. Okay. How about Big Sills and a Howie show? Nah. You know what? Hey, I couldn't have a guy sit on my lap for 4 hours. I couldn't have a guy sit on my lap like a ventriloquist. I couldn't. I mean, you know, that's kind of what Nick is. Nick sits there and like the doll is Howie. And like, you know, Nick's supposed to be the ventriloquist, but it's really the doll talking. Oh, man. Are you an Eagles fan? Nope. I'm a fan of the Eagle fans. I tell people all the time. Fan of the Eagles? I'm not a fan of anybody, dog. I love football. I'm a fan of football. Okay? Seals Denver can still try and trade up. Pickett gives them options. I just don't think that guy is going to shake Sean Payton's. I don't think that's going to shake his draft tree. I just don't think that's good enough. I don't. Okay? Seals trolls because he's miserable with no wife or kids. Oh. Miserable? No, I'm happy when they're not here. Better not say that too loud. Sills, the rumors are Broncos are desperate for picks, including trading Surtain. I know this. I got to think this is happening draft day on Thursday. Okay? Patrick Surtain, in my opinion, is getting traded. Okay? He's getting traded. To who? What if he lands in San Francisco? Good night. Okay? Good night. Big Seals, who do you see the Broncos drafting? As of right now, I got Brock Bowers there. At 12. I got him at 12. Why would you take Bo Nix or Michael Penix when they're the lesser? And nobody at Bledsoe had those guys in the 15 to 20 range. Think about that. 15 to 20 as best players in the draft. And you're going to draft a quarterback who, if he was just put on skill set, would be a 4th rounder. Not doing that. What are Patrick Surtain's trading options? Well, Maxon, here's why it's convenient to trade for him. They picked up his fifth-year option next year. He's still on a rookie deal, so he's basically on the same thing right now that DeVonta Smith's on. 6.4 this year, 15.5 next year. Then you're going to have to pay him to keep him. But here's the beautiful thing. He'll only be 26 when you extend him. Why not cut the same deal? Pay him 25. Same way. I want to see the DeVonta Smith cap hits when all the nuts and bolts get released. But okay, so Bowers gets past the Jets. Yeah, Jets need an offensive tackle, man. I think they take that kid Joe Alt from Notre Dame. As of right now, I'll do another mock draft next week. 10 days out from the draft. The draft is Thursday, next Thursday. I was in hospital and painkillers after surgery. Okay. Sorry to hear that, brother. We have a lot of corners already. No, you don't. You don't have any corners. You think you have bodies, you mean. You don't really have corners. Let me ask you something here. When you say that, hey, Jeff DeBone, you have $28 million tied up in two corners who had 3 picks last year. Did you get your money's worth? I got Fuaga going to Tennessee at 11. Alt will be the first non-quarterback drafted. No, he won't. Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison will be the first non-quarterbacks drafted. You're going to go receiver to get them on those rookie contracts. I wouldn't be surprised if Arizona at 4 has to be getting a lot of calls to try to get up. And you got to remember, the Chargers are sitting there at number 5. The Chargers just lost both receivers. They want to get on a rookie contract too. So they're going to take the kid Neighbors. I think the kid Neighbors is better than Harrison Jr. Shit, the kid from Washington might be better than them all. They might be better than them all. Let's see here. Cooper DeJean would be the Eagles' new slot corner. I don't know. I'm not. Swaggy says, what do you think Smith is better than? I do think I do. And 304 doesn't agree with me. Important question. What's the cap after the deal? We don't know that yet. We got to see the nuts and bolts. Wait and see the cap hits, but the structure and the template is spectacular. Okay. So did you hear JJ McCarthy had dinner with the Patriots? If you think about it, the New England Patriots got right with one quarterback in the entire franchise's history. Not even Tony Eason was a great player. Did get to a Super Bowl. But think of all the shitty quarterbacks that they've had. Steve Grogan, Jim Plunkett stunk there too. I mean, they've had one quarterback that changed the franchise's look. That's an organization that never gets that position right. And they fell into Brady in the 6th round. I mean, I'm going to sit here and believe the Patriots are going to draft a quarterback that's going to be successful. Okay. You've had one in 55 years. Drew Bledsoe was all right. He was. Drew was good. You're right. I think highly of Drew. I think he was better than Tony Romo. I think Bledsoe was better than Romo. If we still have a lot after Surtain to Philly, I think that's got to make sense, man. That would change your fortunes. That would change. I think Garoppolo was good, but he only played 5 games. I don't really think he had any lengthy time quarterbacking in New England, did he? What was his record there? 3-1? Something like that? That's nothing really to write a career about, is it? Right? I mean, Brissett, I think, had 3 starts. I don't know. I mean, that's not a lot to even start a chapter when it comes to your story. Brian Thomas could be down in the 20s. I don't think he's going to be up in the teens. Receiver from LSU. Big Sills. Who do you think the Eagles take first round also? Does Smith sign open the door for Florida State wide receiver Johnny Wilson? I've been listening, and I think my steak Sirianni thanks. Frank, maybe second round with one of those second rounders. If they draft a wide receiver in the second round with one of those twos, A.J. Brown will not be on this team after next year. No way. No way. It's the beginning of the end. I don't believe he'll be on this team. As of right now, once again, the template of the deal is spectacular. And I'll say it again to you. You don't have two $25 million wideouts as of now. Yeah, one guy making 6.4. Okay, so it's a nice sign. You're reinvesting in your guy. You're doing your job. How many pats on the back? Again, the pat on the back is the template of the deal with the 5th-year option. I've never seen that. I've missed that. I've missed that because I think DeVonta Smith had to okay that. Has that ever been done? Why take a flyer on anyone in round 1, package 22, and get Surtain? Absolutely. Absolutely. Damon, thank you. Sills, if the Eagles get their defense right, the league is in trouble. Yes. Yes. Here, Damon, if that football team, which I don't think, and I'm talking the defense, ends up 12th, you'll win the Super Bowl. You'll win the Super Bowl. But I don't believe that. I just don't. If they draft Bowers at 22, would it be dumb? No, he's the best player in the draft. I can't pass on if Jalen Carter had fallen to 22 and you don't draft him, that's a dumb move. Even if I had 2 defensive tackles that I'm happy with, I'm not drafting the best player in the draft. If the best player falls to me in the draft, I'm not just going to oh, well, I'll sign the 4th best edge rusher. You know what I'm saying? Why would I do that? Well, hey, I passed on Bowers, the best player in the draft, to sign the 4th best OT. Come on, man. That's not common sense and well thought out. You get the best guy, you take the best guy. Denny, still, Surtain helps, but we need to improve pass rush and a great corner. Denny, a great corner helps your pass rush immensely. He helps your pass rush. We need defense. Forget Bowers. I know that. Now, what you do, if Bowers is still on the board and you're sitting there at 22, do you make a trade for a team that took a player you like that's higher up in the draft? And do you get, by the way, I got to say this to you. I've been watching Dallas Turner, and I got to say this to you, man. And I listened to what Coach Wannstedt said. And I called him. So you think if you have a tight end on him, he struggles? He goes, yep. He's not physical. He has got to be in space for him to be successful. He goes, that kid from UCLA, the kid Verse, those guys are good-looking edge rushers and good-looking players. He goes, that Dallas Turner kid, he goes, if you put a tight end or a back on him, he struggles. This is in college, which means he can't play strong side. And you run at him. I'm not drafting that. Okay? If you're great in space, he's Nolan Smith. That's what I think Nolan Smith is. Nolan Smith has to be in space. He can't be on a tight end. Like, you got to put him in a wide 9 or something. Let him rush. If you put him on a tight end or such, personally, I think you're asking for trouble. He's not good enough. That kid from UCLA is good. He is good. You watch his moves, you watch how he moves in the hips, watch his hands. I think he's done some work with Aaron Donald. Because if you watch with his hands, he could be down there for the Eagles. Leatu Latu, you watch what he does. He smacks him, boom. He's worked with Donald or somebody that Donald works with. Because he knows how to slap them hands and keep his balance and stay under his shoulder pads. He's a good-looking player, man. He's a good-looking player. Yeah, I'd be happy with Latu also, man, but I don't know if he's going to be there. Dan, this is a great, great move. Don't you see it? Dennis. Yeah. You don't have to pay for DeVonta Smith for 3 years. Yeah, you don't have to pay for him for 3 years. Absolutely. DeVonta made this deal happen. Howie structured it. Both work together. But this deal doesn't come off if DeVonta doesn't agree to that 5th-year option. Okay. I'll take both. He took a haircut. Think what he did. He, in theory, took a $10 million pay cut in 25. You understand that? Because if they give him just a straight-out extension, that money would have kicked in next year. For him to take that $15 million and say, okay, because he's making 6.4, he had to say okay to the 25 deal. And then the Eagles went, holy cow, okay, well, let's give him his 25 annually. You're telling me it starts in 3 years? Sure. You're only paying him $21 million over the next 2 years, which is $10 million. How's that not a great deal? But he had to say okay. He had to say okay. And believe me, now I think because he agreed to the extension, I think that $50 million goes into his bank account. Now, I have to do more. I have to wait and see how they structured it. If they split it up in the first end of the contract and in the back, we still don't know. We're guessing on the money. The $51 million, quite frankly, is the number I'm looking at, not the 75. The 75 is fantasy money. The 51 is real money. No, he does. Hey, Denny, he does love Philly. It's very evident that he loves Philly. Yeah, I think that's got to go through the Players Association and Park Avenue on the particulars of the transfer of money. And if it all hits and the T's are all crossed and the I's are all dotted, I think the Players Association and I think the league, I think they have to validate, because here's what I know. Now, I'm sure a lot of shit has changed. My contract, when I signed my contract, my initial contract with the Buccaneers, I didn't go in the supplemental draft. They tried to sign me as a free agent. The league voided it. They gave me $2.1 million over 3 years, and the league voided it. That's what Jerome's deal was. And they voided it. They said, no. He wasn't made available to every team. And every team complained. Chris Carter, Bosworth, and myself had to get drafted. Then they gave me the same contract. Then the Players Association and then the league okayed the contracts. That's how that all works. I believe that's still intact, that fundamental thought process. Okay? This is big money. Okay. Let's see here. Hey, you know what? Hey, Xander, I just got a text from Ice Cube. Would you guys like to talk to Ice Cube? Would you guys like to talk to Ice Cube? I just got a text. Would you guys like to talk to Ice Cube? Better say yes. All right, let me take a timeout. Let's see here. Bring him on. All right, we're going to do this. I'm going to take a timeout. We're going to get Cube on. And don't forget, Gary Cobb's going to join us too. Let's shoot the shit with our friend here, right? Let's get Ice Cube on. Keep it here. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.